Hi, Bryce here. Today we're going to take a look at a spreadsheet that I have made in advance as a template for doing grade analysis. And we're going to see how to build something like that so that you can have an analysis that just pops right out of your data without you having to rewrite it every time. So here you can see that I've got this large spreadsheet. There's a lot going on here where this is where I'd have students' names and numbers, and these are made up students with made up grades and with made up class periods. So there's a lot that's going on here. But all of this section, the stuff that I'm highlighting here, this is the data that I actually input, as well as a little bit here. And then across this green line, those are controls that I have. But other than that, it basically does all of the analysis that I need, and I get out of this a student's grade. I get how many points I should put in to Pinnacle so that they have a representative amount. And then I get a histogram to see how did my students do overall, how did they do on breakdowns, how did the parts fare, and then how did each period compare to each other. So I can do a full analysis on a test based on this data set and this spreadsheet tool. But when I start out, it just looks like this. I'm going to take these and I will delete that. They'll go back to their normal. You can see all the data disappears, delete those, and then these were each ones to begin with instead of some of them were twos. Oh boy, that was 11. So now it looks like this. This is what it looks like when I open up this template. And there's no data input. It's got lots of things that are there waiting, but nothing's done yet. So this is useful because what I can do is just type in some of the data and say, like, a student got 10 of these 12 points, they got 8 of these 9, and do some just regular data entry like that, where all I'm doing is typing in numbers, and then it automatically does the math for me right as those get typed in. So there's a lot of pieces that go into planning this form, and I built it actually years ago and have been using it ever since. So let's unpack some of this just to see how this works. So a brief overview is that up here I've got sort of my input controls. When you're grading, you need to know how many points are available versus how many points did a student get. And so the raw max, I might say there's 10 points available, and this student got 9 of them. You can see lots of things change when I start to type in these numbers. It's because all of them have equations, a lot of these cells have equations in them that start to make changes. So I can say that, and then we can do, well, let's just make this person have a 90. So we're going to do this all the way across, and we'll do this all the way across, and let's say that they're in period 2. Okay, so we have a little bit of information now. We can go with this. These are the orange cells here. This is an input, and you can see there's some standard cell styles in Excel, but these are inputs. And so these inputs let me put in different values for how many points are available, and then these are inputs as well. So this is an adjusted total. This is if I wanted to change how many points the whole thing's out of. But this is a calculated total, and some of the cells have functions in them like this. So this has got a lot going on. You can see, oh, it's missing one. Okay, so it's got the multiplier multiplied by the raw max, and this one actually has a spare part. It's part 42. I added a second part in right here, but I can add that in. So I would just say that I want to take the multiplier and probably do F4, multiply that by the points possible, and also lock it in there. And we're good. So this one is it's got 70 points total on this test. And so my adjusted total is 70, but maybe I want to make it out of 65 so that everybody gets a little bit of a bump. That's like having a curve where I take out some of the bottom points. I can adjust the total. And then this one is another control. You can see it's just a number there. But this is the multiplier for how many points should it be out of. It says on Pinnacle, but I guess now I could upgrade this to Infinite Campus. It used to be called Pinnacle, now it's Infinite Campus. And if this were only out of 85 points, I could type in that, and this would give me the 96.9% of 85 points. So it would be the, boy, look at all that. So if it's not blank, then if you've got a blank spot, then it tells me that it's not done, like it did down here. But if it decides it's not a student who hasn't finished the test yet, then it gives me their percentage multiplied by the Pinnacle score. And all of that was something that I just typed in beforehand because I knew how these cells were going to relate to each other. So once I decide the relationships, I can build in all these equations so that they go with the spaces where data will be, and then once I plop in the data, it automatically does the math for me, which is the really powerful part. You can even do that with graphs. Like you can see over here, There's a bunch of graphs. There's one little A and then a bunch of zeros because students aren't filled in. And then you can see here, this one doesn't include the zeros so that you can see what's happening. And all of this is based on other tables that have even more functions built into them. So it's got more data packed right into the base of it, or more calculations packed in. So you can have a really advanced report that looks at lots of the things that you need set up in advance so that it all does the calculations for you. Just want to show you this so that you can see what's possible, and hopefully you can build something like this for when you need it.